All right, welcome to Oneness Talk Radio on Intuitive You. This is Abby Gooch, and I am so excited. So remember back in December when I shared with you that you might be able to get to meet the CEO of Live Your Best Life over in Australia. Well, she is here. She agreed to come on with us, and we're going to be interviewing her on the 10 principles that she teaches in Live Your Best Life. And it's pretty phenomenal. I actually went into my Facebook today and found a picture of this book that she had sent me over 2 years ago. So it's pretty phenomenal. Michele Jones, Live Your Best Life, that we have been so soul connected, and just really what you're teaching the world and this greater expression, through One Heart Global that you've been doing, and our company is just, you're amazing. So welcome.
It is so fabulous to be here with you. Thank you so much, Abby. It has been, hasn't it just been a beautiful journey?
Absolutely.
Like, let's just pause and honor that, literally. Like, even what you just shared there, the memory of this book popping up on your feed was the beginning of many things, that connection. United in love initially for the Universal Language of Love Summit that you and Alyssa Williamson were a part of. I know Alyssa was, garnishing and gathering up all these brilliant speakers that were part of that event. Yeah. And that's how this our connection began through love. As the foundation. So, I always say good things happen through the pure intention of love.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And here we are, 2 years on, having a conversation about what we're creating around the world, what our dreams look like, and how we're fulfilling them, and how we're inviting people to join us on that journey. Yeah. It's like a groundswell movement that's just been unfolding, and then we're called all these amazing people to join the team. And now we're helping kids in Ecuador to be able to live their best life. And I think for you and I, that's what this message is really about, right? So that kids and the generations coming through can actually experience their own truth of who they are, mm-hmm. and live their best life. So, it's really interesting, isn't it? Because you and I, we are completely different, but we're the same. Just like every person on the planet, we're all unique. We all have our gifts. But even when we look back, we unfold all these things that you and I have been teaching or sharing for many, many years. And there's just so many parallels. I think we came across your Intuitive View program, and it was all called about how you can live your best life. And we're like, there you go. We're already aligned before we even met. So no wonder the universe we found each other through this big wide world.
Yeah, I know. As you know, in the Intuitive Success Club, it's so about first connecting with our intuition. And then as I read your curriculum and what you teach, it's like it opens up greater intuition. So to me, it's almost opening the mind to greater expressions of that innate wisdom that's there. Mm-hmm. So I would love for you to share, if you want, maybe some of the principles or the way that they can be integrated. I know for me, it was just like, I would just be listening to like one thing you would say, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And I just get like this floodgate of like complete intuitive download. So to me, it just opens the door to that greater insight. And it's the way we think. It's also, what we believe we create, so as we have these beliefs that support our soul's wisdom, it naturally expands to greater love.
It does. And I don't know what it's been like for you. I know you've been in the coaching world since you were 19 years of age. Like you had, that moment where you went, no, I'm not going to do this scholarship. It was a complete misalignment, and you followed that intuition, and you now you've designed and create the life that you love. I don't find, and I haven't found that's always the case for everyone that I've coached. Most of the time when people reach out, they're stuck in some way, or they feel stuck. And so sometimes just by asking people to just drop in and connect to their intuition, they're like, drop in? What? What does that mean? You want me to come around and knock on your door and drop in? It's like, no, we just drop in. And they're like, well, I don't really understand that concept. So I went and I thought to myself, it's being an intuitive child and growing up with intuition just as a foundation that I was fully aware of, I felt like a bit out of sorts because I would say things and people would be like, what is she talking about? So I felt a bit odd growing up as a child. And I think that that's why we're so passionate about allowing kids to harness the understanding of their intuition so that it's not lost, because we can cover it up and lose its ability because of what people potentially project onto us. So, and I've found, I've been coaching now, oh wow, since 2011. That's a long time now. That, in that time, I've got around 38,000 hours of coaching under my belt. It's quite a lot of hours. I went out the gate and I went, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it really intentionally. And I think that I was racking up close to 35 hours, alone in my first couple of months, a week of coaching. So that's a lot of people. And over time, you start to notice these patterns that start occurring. And I just noticed that people had covered up a lot of their intuition, perhaps, or dulled it down, or beliefs and meanings and experiences in their life had caused them to maybe have an untruth or a lie, or just something wasn't actually right, so they just become out of alignment. And so I need to really reverse engineer how I logically can explain the process to be able to bring your logic mind into that union of, I guess, the soul awakening. Yep. So that it was accessible and tangible for people. Like we often talk about, in the spiritual side of work, like the woo-woo. Sometimes people can't get the woo-woo side because they need to logic their way across the bridge to get there. Mm-hmm. So it seems kind of counterintuitive because we know that your intuition and your soul are just always speaking to you, but sometimes people need to cross the bridge to be able to get there. So I very quickly realized, we often talk about the mental, spiritual, and physical planes, but it is a thing. We either going to be living in our head and not in our heart, or we're going to be, potentially just living so much in soul that we actually don't create anything because it's just, we're not actually physically going to connect our soul to take action. Or we're in monkey mind, just running around in our mind, and we never really get to execute anything that's of value in our life. So what I realized is that there were really three succinct phases of that. And the first phase is actually awakening to all the concept and notion that you actually are the designer and the creator of your best life. And life is just not happening to you on autopilot. It is whatever is your reality currently is actually because of something that you've created. Now, that's a hard message to receive sometimes because people will be like, I did not ask for that to happen in my life, and I didn't ask for that to happen in my life. But the ultimate truth is that by design, you are creating elements of it. Yes, and granted, some things happen in life that are completely out of our control, but I do believe that they are our gifts that are sent to us. Maybe a worldly event, like we're recording this currently, and the world has just undergone, in our lifetime, probably one of the biggest overhauls it's ever had, given, that we're in a global pandemic. And for us, that's something we couldn't control. But for many of us, despite all the sadness that can be attached to it, there's been beautiful gifts in it. So the three phases were literally you awaken to this notion that you can actually design, create, and live, putting you firmly into the designer's seat or driver's seat of the design chair. So you become the architect. And the experience of how I've worked with my clients through this process is the metaphor of it's almost like an archaeological dig. Right, so think about the archaeologists that set out and they we found these old things that then they dust the sand off, and they might get the shovels out and really dig in and expose all these beautiful lessons and learnings from history. And so that's pretty much what the experience of the philosophies that I've unearthed are all about, because they actually expose what I believe is the best life blueprint that we are all born with. And because of all those experiences that come along, we cover them up with the layers of the dust and the layers of the sand and the layers of the mud. And indirectly, we end up dimming our light, and we sort of borrow that best life blueprint that I believe was the innate wisdom or the program that we were delivered onto this earth to express and live, and we forget. And quite often in a spiritual awakening, I often tap into the teachings and learnings of Ram Dass, and he has a philosophy of just love, serve, and remember who you are. Yeah. And so if you come from a heart space of love and you figure out what those gifts are and you set about serving the world with those gifts, it's always unveiling to you the truth. And so the excavation process literally is all about that. It's about allowing that truth to rise up to the surface. And it unfolds through three distinct phases, because I think people can logic that. So you move from awakening. There's a whole bunch of, philosophies within the awakening phase. And literally, I just pulled out the book because I was like, well, let's actually pull out the journal. It's very clear.
Dive in.
Yeah, because the journal literally just steps it all out. In the awakening phase, it's all around discovering that what is the why? Like, what is really the essence of your blueprint and your heart and soul's mission here? And then you ask yourself what. So most people just do the what. And the what is literally like just being busy and doing stuff and hoping they're going to one day just live their best life. And the irony, and I've always said the irony behind the fact that we call our business and our programs Live Your Best Life is you already are. Now, some people go, but I am not. And I'm like, no, but you are within the state of your current stage of awakening, right? So the more that you can continue to awaken and connect to this beautiful magic or essence that is your innate wisdom, then you can upgrade what that life looks like, because we believe no one gets out of bed every day and goes, I'm going to live my worst life today. Nobody does that. Look, I think everyone gets up to give it their best shot. And if we're completely honest, not everybody's high vibing every single day, but I do know they're doing their best, because not everyone gets out of bed to fail. Right? So you got to know your why, and then you ask yourself what, because it's all that purpose piece, right? Like, really, what is the essence of what my gifts are, and how do they serve? And through the process of me serving and continuing returning home, so I remember who I really am. And that's how people rise. That's how they rise together. And if you're not doing that, you are literally not serving yourself. You're not serving others with your beautiful gifts. And then literally, we often talk about the hero's journey. It's just you continue to live life in this beige, ordinary world, and you wonder why it's not you wonder why you don't feel like it's your best life.
So if I can just pause you real quick, Michele, is there a way that people can get that workbook? I know they can. So how can they get access to that? Where can they get access to that? Because you're talking, here's the thing that, as Alyssa and I were talking about, because I love our teamwork right now. And I'm like, hey, it's about applying. So you're saying so much, and I want people to be able to apply what you're saying. So where can they get the workbook and the book, and also learn more about the LYBL principles?
Yeah, it's a really timely.
So much better than the acronym.
Well, it's interesting. So the acronym, it popped out from our community. And so Live Your Best Life alone could not be trademarked, right? Because so many people around the world use the term live your best life, like you were using it 2 years ago.
Oh, that's
so
right.
Yeah, so I can't trademark that, and I couldn't trademark it even when I tried 10 years ago, but we could trademark LYBL, and which was literally the acronym, right, of the 4 words. But our community was like, we love that because it makes us liable to do something about living our best life. So it was almost like it put ownership, and our core values are all around empowering life. So everything that we decide here is around not creating reliance on us as a company, or me as a person, or the coaches on our team. It's literally about us holding space for people to be able to tap into that potential and empower themselves. But we just provide the guidance and the frameworks in which they can experience themselves in a safe and loved way. Right. And sometimes people think, oh, well, that just sounds like everyone's broken. And I'm like, no, we run this belief that as they arrive here, they think they're broken. We know they're not broken. Right. So we are literally always just holding up the mirror to show them how incredible they are. And even through the muckiness of the murkiness of dusting off all the dirt and the mud that's been put into our belief system that we think is who we actually are, we expose the truth. So yeah, so you're liable for doing that, and that's the design creative process that literally has become the foundation of our work. Yeah, but it's interesting because right now we're here 2 years later, and this is just after we've launched our actual program for people, because we realized, you know, not everyone can fly in now and do retreats and come in and spend 3 to 5 days with us in a full immersive container. So we've actually put all of our work and spent, you know, the time in the pandemic to create an online program, basically. So you've got literally all of the foundational work of going through the awakening process, the taking action process, so you can witness yourself through the awakening of how you go about your world and how you actually are in the world, like how are you expressing yourself. So you actually take stock, or you take some actions, and then you take back an introspective viewpoint on how am I doing all those actions, and are they actually in truth, or are they steeped in a mistruth, or perhaps a made up reality that I've just formulated to keep myself safe. So we allow them to experience safety in a way that it's vulnerable sometimes, because you've got to actually tap into some stuff that you probably just want to keep hidden. And then you go through the arriving at the being stage. So right now you can always grab these on our website. So we've actually got, the way we do it is you can either just buy the book and do your own journey through the book. If you want to take and move into, so this is more like awakening, you read the book and you start your awakening. If you want to move in through awakening and actions, you combine both. We call this the self-empowerment pack, because in the book we reference the journal and journaling, because we know the power in that. If you actually want to connect the work in the book to the journaling, this is all created to connect these two pieces of work together, so that you now have awakening and action. And then when you finish this work, you put it down and you've arrived at the space of being, so that your being is fully expressed, fully alive, fully in tune, and tapped into that intuitive soul that we all know is there, connected to your wisdom. So we'll make it easy for people. The website's www.LYBL, right? Just the acronym .com.au, and you'll find it in the shop. But right now we also have the program that we've just launched out as a pilot program, which is literally you gaining access to all of the information in the book, but on a guided tour. I call it the MJ guided tour, and I literally act like the tour guide to walk you through the process, and we can connect you and unite with a beautiful community within a private area, like a private group, so people can actually have that expression of themselves held. And because you are doing it with people going through the same experience, you just learn so much more, because people hold each other up. You know, there's no one in our community I've ever met that wants to tear anyone down. So I find it really beautiful. So that's called the Best Life Blueprint program. And, you know, it's designed to run over 10 weeks with 10 blueprints. But the reality is you've got those teachings and learnings for life. So, you know, you're always just going to be able to go back into the portal. And I would say, for as long as I'm here in this physical life, you've got you have access. And I hope my work continues far after I'm gone in the physical realm. So, you know, it's going to be there for people to just go back and experience over and over again, because like everything, sometimes we forget.
Yeah, so just a few things to add. I'm doing my best. I'm like, you have so much information, but just to embellish on what you're saying. So her program, the 10 weeks, incredible. on its own. And she also has coaches. I actually have partnered with her team as well. So there's a lot of coaches, Live Your Best Life coaches, that can help you through it. So as Michele said, I've been doing coaching since I was 19, and I learned people need to apply. I applied what I received. If you don't take the action, there's no actual result. It's just a thought, right? So to actually have that support, whether you're working with a private coach or in the group program, or, you know, if Michele's doing the group, just know that we're here to support you. And then what was it, last December, we partnered. So, you know, when you're connected with Michele or me, you also can get access to the Intuitive Success Club, which is actually bringing you deeper into your intuition. So you can go to www.theintuitivesuccessclub.com for that. And then I just have to connect it all so you guys feel the full circle. So Krishna and I are creating the intuitive child. So if you go to the intuitivechild.co, it almost brings tears to my eyes, because we know that the children know, just like we knew as children. And so that program is the children's version of the Intuitive Success Club, for the children of the world to be supported and loved in safety and truly share their gifts. Because I couldn't help but keep thinking when you were talking, Michele, I know it's a funny example, but you know The Lion King, the cartoon, and the dad dies, right? And he comes as like a dream. And I feel like that's kind of where we all meet, on that higher frequency. And he's like, remember who you are. You already know it. And it's like, it gives me chills too. And and he's looking at the water, and it's a pure reflection. And so it's like, there's no mystery in this. Michele's principles, they start opening you up to what you already know. So it's like you're already found. But part of the reason I believe we've created this international team and also have people following us is we need to do it together. It's like, I see you, you know, and you're beautiful. Like I was texting a client this morning, I'm like, you're radiant. It's easy to see. She's like, wow, thanks. But it's true. It just is. Okay. And so as we see each other and say yes to that soul call, and I think, Michele, I think this was you we were talking about, I wrote it down, like, accept the call your soul is speaking to you. Join the hero's journey. So it's kind of like Michele's like, hi, here's like the map. And then I'm like, hi, here's the compass of your intuition. Let's go. We're going to go to the top of that hill together. And we're going to like stand on the earth with love and say peace.
and then spread it out all around the world. Yeah, for sure. See, I really love that, because I did design this body of work because I wanted people to be able to logic their way, then let that go, and then drop in. Because the people will be like, I don't know how to drop in. And I'm like, but it's already there. You just need to be able to unfurl. It's almost like I like to sail, right? So I almost imagine it like when people have got it so tightly packed, the sail's packed away, and then we raise it up to the mainstay, and then we unfurl it, and then we allow the wind to fill it, and then it has this potential to be able to sail. Like it's, you know, that's how it's like. So this allows the process of going through, let's awaken to some concepts that maybe are a little unfamiliar, that you've forgotten, and let you to try those on and connect, so that you actually start. It's almost like I liken it to almost like cleaning out the spark plugs, because we literally start, you know, get some vibration in the energy of the mechanics of who you are. It's like, let's turn on the engine. Let's start to bring it up. And so in the awakening phase, it's all about knowing that why, asking yourself what, and there's about, I don't know, 6 or 7 clear lessons in each area, so within those categories, and then there's, you know, activities to do so you actually can translate it, because we've got a couple of philosophies. We either do our work through, we call it LYBL questions, so very clear questions that you can ask yourself. Then we've got LYBL writing. We do it through writing, so journaling and dropping into things like that. And then you've also got the LYBL stories, because I think that when we hear other people's stories, we actually can relate to ourselves even more so. And then we've got the LYBL actions. So we say, ask yourself powerful questions, which are the LYBL questions. Then from that answer and that response, you take action. And then from there, you're going to write it down, what came up and what you learned and what you noticed. And then you're going to journal. So through writing activities are actually to conjure up more of the understanding of who we are. Then you're going to journal down what actually dropped in for you. And then we connect you to the stories, and then you create and shape your own. So, there's not one client or one person that we've not met in the work that we've done that has a beautiful story to share. Yeah. And then people can relate. People go, oh, wow, I relate to her or him, and or whoever.
Yeah, and I do remember it's the questions that you're asking. It's like it's asking the right question to then guide you to the solution and the result that you want. And that's what I mean by like opening your mind. They're just brilliant. I mean, I would kind of listen to it. I'd like go rewind and be like, oh, that was really good. And then like pause, because it's like when you really stop to think about it, it changes you. And
I was really buoyed. Like, I have to say, I was really buoyed because I know how intuition is just your way of life. And when you were messaging me and saying, man, this just like deepens your intuition, I was like, oh, this is going to be too logical for Abby, right? Because truthfully, I was like, oh gosh, it's almost like you move through it. It's like going from your L plates, learner plates when you start to drive, and then you're up in your your P plates where, okay, we're trusted to drive, and then you're like free to drive. And I'm like, well, Abby's free. She's free to driving. So it's almost like going back to L plates to move through to P plates. And what I loved as you went through that experience is that it's just kept opening up your intuition and deepening you to be able to access. And I almost got this sense of it's like a clear channel. Yeah, because it's a constant thing, right? Like you don't, and if I use the same metaphor of a car, you don't just like get your car serviced once and then it's good for life. Right. It's always about going and, and even when we do the Intuitive Success Club work, it's about always, clearing the chakra channels and recalibrating the energies and making sure that, are we moving the energy in a way that's working for us? Or are we moving it, or we're toning it up, or are we dimming it down a little so that it keeps it more centered? And I think that that's the body of this work. It's literally about how do you connect but stay centered and still be able to live here on an earthly human experience, to live a life fully expressed. So from the notion of the three parts, that you awake, you act, and you be, we then decided that those words were a little intangible for people to understand if you hadn't actually been through a process like that before. It's like, what do you mean awake? What am I acting on? And then what do you mean be? Like, I don't get it. So we actually called it the design, create, and live process, because that had a lot more logic to it, where people could access it. Well, we're going to spend time designing. What do you want your life to look like? Yeah, let's uncover the design you were born with, and you'll probably find that it's almost a match. Yeah. And then we move into creating it and bringing it to life. So we actually get to work and we literally put energy into it, but we channel that energy in a way that's moving you towards what you already knew. And then you live it, you bring it to life and you live it. And that's where living your best life really came from, because I realized this at the age of 15. I started to have stirrings at the age of 7. And this actual message has been in me since I was 15, and I only brought it to life in 2015, where I could document it all down and make sense of it, because I had to go through that growing up experience to understand how it could be applied. Up until then, I thought it was just like, that's the way everybody lived. But I found out as I moved into adulthood that it wasn't what people thought. And I just thought that was how everybody lived, because that was my experience. And I still had to go through my own growing up. Yeah. So I think that your soul already knows, and that, when we come here to drop into a human body, depends what we all believe, right? But I believe our souls are literally, they're incarnating and they're literally here to gather our lessons. I think Earth is the learning planet. So if you chose planet Earth, you come here to learn. So if you're not investing time to learn about yourself and go inward to learn about the full expression of you, then, you'll probably have to incarnate and go on another experience, because you probably didn't get all your lessons. So,
I just feel like the greatest gift learning is like deeper expressions of love, right? So like you said, they're just up leveling it so you can apply the principles over and over. You can use your intuition over and over, and it just takes you deeper even still into that place of knowing. And the other thing that I felt called to share is, you know, when you're following your gifts and you're opening up to your intuition, you're using these principles, you're being fully expressed, you naturally, this is my opinion, are going to be serving others because you have so much love. So like the overflow is, you know, for us, it's One Heart Global, oneheartglobal.co. You'll see what we're doing. We go to, you know, I go to different orphanages. We start teaching. Michelle's, I'm almost sure going to have the first wellness center. Like, it's just, you naturally give because we're all connected. So you don't need to be afraid of your gifts. You don't need to be afraid of your intuition. You just need to know it's okay. So even if you're a child listening to this video, it's okay to be here. It's okay to be different. Like, Christian and I had my mom on Instagram. It was so great. And she was just like, Abby was different, but I nurtured it. And like, thank God, because if I was like shunned for that, I wouldn't be able to be who I was. So I had intuitive parents that were like aware. And so that's why I feel, you know, whether it's, you know, we're helping parent them or it's the people at the orphanage or actual parents to create that space.
Oh, for sure. You know, exactly. You know, I don't even remember making my mum, you know, put seatbelts on and feed like imaginary friends. And like, she had to like put them in a car and put a seatbelt on and put a place at the table. And I'm just like, you know, Adrian, my friend. And she's like, right. But sounds a bit woo-woo now, but like that was real for me. And I don't know, spirit guides, whatever you believe in. But I just think that we're all in essence. So we're all in energy. What I love about what you just said and what really came to me was when you start, like it's just natural, as you said, because it comes from a place of love, it kind of overflows out of you. But because you start on it's a vibrational frequency. So the more that you move through these phases, almost, it's like a rising up. It's like the tides rise to meet you, and then you literally can just spilleth over, you know, it's like the spill over of the cup. So there's never that sense of feeling depleted. And, you know, we always often laugh, don't we? Because we're in different sides of the world. It's almost sometimes we feel like sleep, what's sleep, you know, because the energy vibration is almost like I feel what you're up to and I know what you feel, what I'm up to. It's crazy. Like, and then we wake up and we have a moment where we go, oh, that's exactly what I was doing at that time. And it's because it's felt energy, and I think that people really know when it is a real vibrational frequency of love. So the purest intention, and if it's steeped in love, then I always say you can never go wrong. You know, it's always going to work out, even though there might be scenic routes along the way. It's never just linear, you know, there's always, but that's the whole experience of the journey, to be able to understand yourself and remember who you are over and over and over again. You know, all your problems just become higher quality problems. They're no longer survivalistic and so steeped in fear, because you just always trust that there'll be a way. Then you're going to find a solution to any challenge that comes your way, or accept the challenge because it was a gift. And I think that's what we end up learning more so than not. But yeah, if I just sort of round that out, in the awakening phase, you know, you go through the knowing your why and really digging into understanding that before you ask what to actually take action. And then it's about acknowledging what the current programs and thinking are that you're running as the, I almost call it like the operating system of your life. So if you think about the operating system that you've been programming as that, it's all made up of the thoughts, and acknowledging where you're at with those thoughts, because they've actually programmed your life to be its expression in this moment. So it's just literally about learning to overwrite that and upgrade it to new software, and, you know, start to live.
Yeah, I was thinking just real quick before you go into that, the vibration that you were talking about, if we can just tune in there and then go more into that, the vibration is so palatable. So like I would wake up at like 4 a.m. in the morning, be like, Michele, like I can feel you, like you can feel it. So my invitation for everybody is notice what you're feeling. What is that energetic pull, that vibration that's actually moving you? That energy, that life force energy, I believe is the most powerful. And then the mind follows. So these principles will help you open up, but it's the vibration that's actually going to connect you. Like, right, even talking like before, Michele and I are connected like infinitely every moment. And so we're feeling the energy, and you can actually tune in to the frequency, right? And like, wow, I want to know more of that, right? So that's why you to go to www.lybl.com.au, because you can feel that, and that gravitational pull can then take you in deeper to understanding and applying the principles, because she's told you the phases. It's really about like, yeah, I deserve my best life. This is awesome. I came here to live, and only I can fulfill my soul purpose. I believe this. This is not to impose on anybody. This is just such a solid belief I have, that everybody truly comes with their own purpose. Only they can fulfill it. Only Michele can fulfill it. Only I can fulfill mine. Krishna is everybody. We are uniquely designed perfectly. So when we realize that, this other stuff that you're talking about, like you said something about, things can happen. I actually feel like they're kind of vibrations that are leaving. So, because we're actually lifting. So it's like a disheveling. So that can then rise up, and you actually feel like you're flying. Like I was just like, I'm feeling like 2 feet above the ground sometimes, or it's like you start to just float because it's lighter and lighter. So just to be in that space of love and say yes to your soul's blueprint, it's an invitation. To fly, in a sense,
And you just said then, like, you deserve your best life. So we always say you not only deserve it, you're actually born for it. So, are you living a life you wasted, or are you living a life you lived? And that's really what it's all about. We know that everyone was born with that. We just want people to also believe it and experience that for themselves. And most people want that, right? Like most people will go, I'm getting out of bed. I want to live my best life every day. As I said, I don't get out of bed to live my worst life, but they don't always feel like it is their best. So why not? And we just get to work on that. So, once we understand a little bit more around that soul blueprint and they know why, then we can move into what, and then we look at the program, we overwrite the program that's been running. And then from that, we get people to just develop a really healthy perspective so that they realize they were always doing their best. And now they have a chance to up level and upgrade that. And I think that that's the part that I just love. Then once we've had that kind of, like you said, an unsettling, like it's almost like a disheveling, like things have to crumble before, even in nature we witness it, right? I've got the morning sun right now on my face. It's probably the worst part for me. It's for me to take a morning.
Beautiful.
But I always think of nature in the sense of, things break down in nature all the time, but it refertilizes the earth, and from there it germinates and grows again. So everything has a bifurcation point in nature where it just breaks down, but it creates more life. And I think that's the process that we undertake in the awakening phase, because even if you think about any hero on their life's journey, once you think of a superhero in a movie, right? Like once they decide we are, even like Superman, Clark Kent, boring life, doing life, boring, ordinary world, has all these qualities of superpowers, and then he just has to make that decision to own those superpowers, and we call it crossing the threshold. And once you firmly take both feet off this side of the threshold and say, right, I'm doing this, it becomes a little chaotic. It becomes a little crazy because all the old systems and programming have to crumble away and down. And that's why a lot of people don't embark on the work, because they're afraid of what that is. That's why we walk with them. And, having you join our team and be a part of that, I mean, that's the most beautiful experience to have with any person that that we're privileged and honored to work with. It's just such a privilege. you know, to be able to hold that space and be there for people as they cross the threshold, you know, because sometimes we just need a little bit of, we need allies on our side. We need allies because we're going to face some enemies, and enemies are generally our own thoughts, you know, our enemies are usually from within. They're not normally always external like people think they are. It's normally the battle that we're facing within our own thoughts and within our own program. So we meet our allies and we get tested. Are we really going to take this journey? And so our resolve is we must, in me, I trust, and we must continue on the journey. So then we go full circle, right? Like on the hero's journey, you're literally going to battle a little bit, and then you come out the other side, and there's the reward, and there's this resurrection because the old self dies and the new self rises to the surface. And it really was the thing that was you were born with that is allowed to now express itself. So you then go on this beautiful journey, and then what happens in every movie? They return home with the elixir, whether it's the, you know, the person they fell in love with, or the golden treasure. Like there's always something they return home with, and then they share it with everybody, because you can't hide it. Once it's exposed, it is like, it becomes the full here I am moment. Here I am. And then you want to be able to gift that out to everybody.
Right.
So yeah, then you know, in our process, when you move into actions, you like listen to your feelings and you just allow them to guide you and start to understand like where you can trust yourself. And then we literally take people through the process of creating their own personal manifesto, which is, you know, what are your values? What are you living your life by? What must be there? So we invite it in. And how will you know when it's arrived? Because you would have expressed it and said, here it was. I asked this to come into my life. That's how we know you're the designer and creator. You know, if we actually take who we are at the source of divinity, you know, if you have a religious belief to that, then the creator, we are all the creator. You know, we are the oneness, which here we are on Oneness Talk Radio, but it's also that life force connection that you speak about through your work. Then, you know, the success that you have by actually allowing those intuitive feelings to guide you, and discovering and revealing your own self-worth, really, at the end of the day. You know, most things in coaching, no matter what, whether I've coached CEOs from way up here to, you know, a household mom who is so dedicated to her family, the thing that's always the common thread is self-love. And that's why we all know that love is the highest vibrational frequency, because it emulates everything. It emulates households and communities within families. Like that's where everybody begins in life, within a family. So we know that work for a mom is so important. And then we know that as people go through life and maybe they go on their career and they rise up corporate ladders, that they're taking all of that programming with them. So what runs in the business runs in the person, you know, and vice versa. If it's running in the person, it's running in the business. So it's not disassociated. People think it is. You know, and people are like, you're either a business coach or a life coach. I'm like, call me whatever. Eventually, if I'm coaching you on your business, we are going to talk about your life. We will get to the life, because it's all the same. It's oneness.
Right.
But then we get people to unleash their magnetic superpowers and really live life in that level of understanding they already had those powers, and now they know how to use them and harness them in a way that really brings in what they are seeking. And then we kind of slow it down a little bit and we move into the elements of being. So we know we awaken, it's chaotic. We go into action, it's movement. It's like really putting the rubber to the road. And then once we do that, we sort of take a big, deep breath, and then we sit and land in this space of being. And that's really where we really get people to be okay with sitting in silence and not have their thoughts running them wild or driving them crazy, where they can master focus and being. And when you start to be able to do those elements, people, you know, it's like silence is powerful. What do you mean? I'm like, it is the most powerful moment when you can be in you, mastering focus, you know, even through meditative states and so forth. I mean, the power in that is so much more powerful than just running around doing. Because when we are being, you allow so much more to take flight. And it's an internal observance. It's, you no longer have to project externally or blame or others or deny yourself of anything and justify everything around you. You know, the groundedness and the steadfastness in it is just so strong, where it literally feels like that life force connection to the universe. And, you know, then you are able to ask for directions intuitively before you set out on anything. And it guides you in a way that you've never experienced before, because you just didn't trust yourself before. And then we just invite people to embrace all the uncertainty and set sail, because you never know when you're about to unfurl your sail and travel the world. If you're in a sailing boat, what you're going to experience. You just got to let go and do it. Let go of the control.
My
so that's
goodness.
it.
We have like 1 minute before our next meeting. Is there anything else you want to share real quick before you wrap up, Michele?
No, well, I will just say, you know, like, we've come together for a reason, Abby. You know, the universe placed us together so we could serve through love and remember in all times who we are, so other people have permission to do that. So the way that we've realized we've been brought together is that people start out their journey through this phase that I've just shared. And then once they are in that state of being, oh my gosh, it's like summiting a mountain, right? You do all this hard work and then you get to the top of the mountain, then you get to the mountain, you go, the view up here is spectacular. But I didn't know there was all these other mountain ranges to go and explore. And I think that's where the invitation is that you come through this phase, you're spiraling yourself up, and then you arrive where literally, I mean, you're guiding people through this work, but we're also allowing that opportunity for people to be guided with the intuitive work, because gosh, that's like a whole other dimension once you've got there. So, you know, people want a little bit more guidance into how they can continue to tap into that potential and rise it up. You know, I think once we feel like we've landed, then all of our momentum in life ceases to exist. So we always realize as we're rising as people in life that, oh boy, this is so much bigger than what we ever thought we were. Yeah. You know, all you've got to do is look up to the stars in the sky at night to realize how vast and how much is on offer. So, you know, you come through Live Your Best Life, you get access to both of us and our team of coaches, and then you arrive at the Intuitive Success Club, and then, you know, I'm going to be there eventually. I'm going through your program right now, so I can say I'm an intuitive success coach as well. But right now, we're so blessed and gifted to have you as a part of the Live Your Best Life coach team. We love the fact that we've met and expanded internationally with you. So we've crossed borders, even when we can't travel. It's kind of weird. But yeah, I think, you know, we've said it all, but there's a dream here that we want to reach at least 1 million people just in a small amount of time, because we know the power of the ripple effect. And because of that, as you said, our love continues to flow over, and we know that it needs to then go back to the children, because that's where it's going to continue. So, you know, and they don't need to go through what we went through to understand who we actually are. They can just get it all now and realize and just run with that. So it's the call to every parent to be able to nurture that gift of the intuitive child. And through all of that work, we're able to help children that are a little less fortunate. Maybe, you know, they've lost their parents or live in a dysfunctional home. So we're filling external homes with love, you know, in orphanages and so forth. So that's the One Heart Global Mission, as we've already shared. So it all ties in together beautifully. The work that you and Krishna are doing in Intuitive Child, and what you and Alyssa are doing in Intuitive Success Club, and then all of us throughout the Live Your Best Life thread. So with all one dream to everyone to live their best life, really.
So beautiful. I just love it. So yeah, make sure to go to, you want to say the website, because I want to make sure I say it correct.
www.lybl.com.au. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there in our shop, but yeah, if you're really keen to dive in, just look for the Self-Empowerment Pack. We do ship internationally. So yeah, just reach out. You know, we're here to help people live their best life. That literally is our entire vision, and our mission is to empower life to be able to create that. And all we ask is that you accept your call to adventure and join us.
I love it. So we'll see you up, and we'll just help you build your palace on the top of that hill, because it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's go. Got the compass and the guide. So,
Yes.
all right. Lots of love, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.